This is your Estuary Report. I'm Jerry Kay. Today we bring you a story about creeks, trains, and flooding.
If you look at the Bay Area, railroad tracks run along the shoreline of a good part of the bay.
When a railroad crosses a creek or a drainage ditch, the water is often moved through a pipe or under a train trestle.
And each one of those, I dare say, is inadequate. The railroad bridge acts as a bottleneck. All of the water trying to come out of the watershed, which you look upstream, is all those hills up there draining this way, and if it stops right here, some of it can get through, but not all of it can get through. So it backs up as a bottleneck.
The hydraulic constrictions from trains and from roads and from culverts and from trestles back up water and they flood communities. Now what happens is the creeks get blamed for the flooding instead of the trestle, the culvert, or the road.
This railroad here is typical of most bridges and trestles throughout the Bay Area. This one here looks brand new, and in fact it is brand new, but it's not wide enough to convey all of the water necessary during high storm flows. The railroad, in designing this particular bridge, looked at what the Army Corps of Engineers built for the original Pinole Creek project back in the 1960s. Back in those days, the Army Corps used to lower the bottom of the creek channel below sustainable elevation. If you look at photographs from the last storm we had, the large storm in 2006, there was water that backed up right to just about the backyards, the back decks of some of these homes.
The other thing that happens is that as the water backs up, it drops sediment and it starts to fill in the culverts and the channel. And in very extreme situations, the whole culvert gets filled up and you don't get passage through it.
Train trestles have also caused flooding problems in the South Bay, including downtown San Jose. When high waters deposit debris on or up against the trestles, a hydraulic constriction can be created or made worse. These photos show flooding on the Guadalupe River, which runs through downtown San Jose, which were caused by debris buildup and a hydraulic constriction. So as we try to figure out why creeks are flooding, we may be blaming the wrong culprit. The reason some of these creeks flood has more to do with hydraulic constriction than the creeks themselves.
And so, doesn't it make sense to do preventative medicine rather than come back and kill the patient with these engineering works that are quite expensive, difficult to maintain, and often have performance problems?
Now, here's an example of how a community pressured a railroad to update a culvert to increase water flow. We are in West Berkeley on the banks of Cordonices Creek. The 1.2-mile creek drains the Berkeley Hills all the way down to the bay.
Imagine a room in 2004 and it's crowded with citizens and citizen groups and local agencies because we finally got the Union Pacific Railroad at the table. They wanted to repair an old culvert. It was about this big, and the culvert would let 100 cubic feet per second of water go through it. Well, this creek has 600 cubic feet per second go down the creek. You don't have to know what a cubic foot per second is to know that there's something very wrong between that 600 number and the 100 number. So, when it rained, the water would come down, hit that culvert, go over the railroad tracks, go up and down the railroad tracks, and it would create Lake Gilman on Gilman Street, which is a major interchange coming off Interstate 80. The other problem is that we have steelhead fish in this creek. So as the fish are migrating up and downstream, and you have a flood, and you have a culvert that's only that big, they end up stranded on the railroad tracks. And these are threatened species. After that room was filled with angry local people and the Union Pacific Railroad, the Army Corps of Engineers, which has a regulatory branch for the environment, for wetlands, the San Francisco Bay Water Resources Control Board, and the California Department of Fish and Game, along with National Marine Fisheries, said that it was intolerable for the railroad to come in here and ask for permission just to replace that small culvert. Because we had a lot of citizen interest and local government interest, and all the regulatory agencies were working together, we were able to get this 5-bore culvert that would allow more water to go through here. So this is a good story. These projects don't happen unless local citizens organize. You have city governments willing to take on a major project.
There are a lot of people at the table, and I would say of those people, a lot of them are talking to each other and coordinating, but there are some, like the railroad, who, for whatever reason, goes by their own drumbeat.
None of our state agencies are perfect, but they tend to consider themselves more as part of the political fabric locally. The railroad does not consider itself part of the local political fabric. Their offices are in Kansas City, they're in Denver, Colorado. The closest office we have is consultants that they have located in Sacramento.
You can understand from in a certain perspective, they have thousands of miles of rail lines, and they have a lot to manage, and this is one of many, many problems they have to deal with. So we can understand that. On the other hand, I think the railroad has to understand our position. This is extremely important to the community. It's a flood protection issue, and it's very important for flood control districts, and these issues need to be addressed by the railroad in a timely and thoughtful manner.
The train system is very important to our future transportation system. I am in complete support of repairing tracks, putting in new culverts, and upgrading the system.
I think solutions throughout the Bay Area is to work with the railroad as they go through and replace their infrastructure. All infrastructure has a given service life. All infrastructure has to be replaced at some point. So if we can work with the railroads, if the railroads would give us their schedule for replacing their bridges, so we can plan in advance, we can come up with our restoration template or the width of the channel or creek that we need to accommodate future growth and habitat, then we can collectively replace these bridges. It stands right now, the railroad comes in, they've got it all planned, they come in and get a permit after it's all planned, ready to go, and then we have to play catch up. So better coordination with the railroad company, I think, would be a part of the solution.
As we look into the future, we are going to be dealing with climate change and sea level rise. With railroads ringing the bay, there could be a real win-win solution here. As these inadequate trestles are replaced, the new widened or strengthened structures could provide more protection against sea level rise, benefiting our communities and the railroads, which are so important. To learn more about this topic, please visit our website, sfestuary.org.